There's something very emotional and mental about how the gut functions that is often overlooked in the paradigms we have about how to heal it. And we're stuck in reasoning from one sliver of what's influential, and we're missing the... Welcome to the Deconstructing Conventional podcast. This interview is brought to you by Healing United, a private membership association committed to helping you reclaim sovereignty over your health, life, and future. You could say our tagline is question everything and rebuild intentionally. In the audio format of the show, there's additional commentary before each episode, and there are also over a dozen audio-only episodes. You can find the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, including the Healing United PMA app. Look for it in the App Store, and if you want to learn more about the work we do, and especially how we help people heal when the doctors have no answers, visit us online at healingunited.today. Now, on with the show. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's episode. My guest is Mike Merrill. He is perhaps better known as the Heal Your Gut guy. And I first came across Mike many years ago, and I've probably read more than the average coach when it comes to gut health. And in my estimation, Mike probably knows more about the gut than most doctors do, especially most gastroenterologists. And he knows so because he's had to live out, he had to find his own path to healing because the medical profession let him down. And really, like so many of us, he got into coaching kind of just as his own quest to get well. And this may not be the title you want, but you've won the prize for the worst case of gut health that I've ever heard of before. And now you're on the other end of that and you're teaching people. You've got a very successful business teaching countless people how to heal their gut. And so I'm thrilled to talk to you today because I've been following your work for years. I took one of your courses several years ago, and you dialed me into a lot of what I didn't know about health. And I compared that to other books I was reading by well-credentialed doctors, and your information stands out. You've done a great job of studying the gut and walking out a healing journey and then turning that into your own, message ministry / business. And it's been fun to watch you over the years. So Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat with you and show people what I did to get better because, I just want to save you guys all the time, pain.
Right.
You listen to the wrong person, you're going to be wasting a lot of money and being in a lot of pain. And it's like the way I help people, you could literally have all your food intolerances gone in a day.
Yeah, there's something different about your paradigm.
It sounds ridiculous, but you're one thought away from at least not being completely healed, but at least stopping the injury so your gut can actually complete the healing process, the inflammation process.
Cool. All right. Well, so before we get too much into the weeds of just helping people think more strategically about their health, tell us the story of Mike Merrill, because your story is so fascinating to me. So when did your symptoms start? What were you diagnosed with? What kind of process did you go through? Tell us about that.
So I was diagnosed in 2010. It was kind of right when I was finishing up college. But growing up, I always had diarrhea, just all the time, always farting, always super underweight. So I'm about a little under 6 foot tall and I weighed about 150 pounds. So it's pretty skinny. It's skinny. I look at my old pictures and I don't know how anybody took me seriously when I was 150 pounds, talking about gut health. So I had a fistula pop up. I started.
So tell people two things. What were you diagnosed with, and what is a fistula?
So I was diagnosed with Crohn's,
which is kind of like the Rolls Royce. If you're going to go big on gut health problems, go Crohn's, because that's about as bad as it gets.
I had inflammation in my small and large intestine, so I should have been diagnosed with Crohn's. This is where you get into the buffoonery of modern medicine. They don't even use their terms correctly. So I had Crohn's and colitis, technically. They had inflammation both in the small and large intestine, and I had a perianal fistula and fistulas in my small intestine. And fistulas is just these channels start to form. It's just so beat up down there.
So describe it a little bit more so the listener, if they don't know what a fistula is, they can.
I had almost a second butthole.
Now you can picture
so near my butt, See, we're no,
Yeah,
there's no
you,
limits with me. We're
right.
already at the
You brace yourself, people, because it's going to be an honest conversation here.
so I was, in college and stuff, so I had this pimple start showing up by my butt, my butthole, and I'm like, what is this? You pop it and you're like, oh, okay. It's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't think it's an STD or what is this? And then it just sometimes it would just start just gushing pus and blood, and sometimes it would close up and then it would fill up with pus and just it'd be an abscess, and it's it's a wound that cannot heal, and it can create all sorts of problems because it gets trapped behind flesh. So yeah, not fun.
No, at all. So Crohn's
Yeah,
and colitis and fistulas and
yeah,
constant diarrhea and the symptoms and the ache that goes with it is the kind of the short version.
yeah.
Is that, did I miss anything important in there?
And I was super underweight. I'm surprised more people didn't call me out on it, but like I look at my old pictures and I just shudder.
Yeah, kind of like a
And
Skeletor, but without
yeah,
muscle.
yeah, and I would just shovel. I would try to eat a lot and eat clean, and I still wouldn't put on weight.
Man. Okay, so
So,
tell us the anything you want to about what you perceive led you there. But then I really want people to hear the journey you went through from starting to go to the doctors and what they did or didn't do to help you.
um, the fistula definitely like motivated me to be like, oh, I got to go to the doctor and figure out what's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting diagnosed. I remember I went into the doctors with my dad, and they had like the drug stamped on like the room and like the hospital wing and on their pen and on their clipboard and the brochure that they handed me. And I was just like, this is like super like fishy. Like, and they sat me down and they're like, hey, you have Crohn's disease. It's incurable, yada, yada, yada. Hey, go on this drug that's, stamped on my chest and on my underwear. And then I was just like, okay, let me stop you right there. I'm like this skinny 20-year-old at the time, and I'm like talking to this grown man. I'm like, hey, stop. Okay, enough with the BS. What's the root cause? And they're like, well, we don't know. I'm like, well, do your job then. Dude, figure it out. I'm going to get a second opinion. Thanks. Bye. My dad's like, that's rude. I'm like, well, they need to do their job.
Okay. Tell me about, I remember I heard you on the Wise Traditions podcast many years ago, and you talked about how the one of the times you came back to the doctor
Oh
had gut
boy.
issues and put himself on some sort of diet and wasn't even sharing that information with you. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, I think I blocked that out of my memory. So like I think 2 years later after getting diagnosed, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna try the drugs. I'm gonna try, you know, the biologics for a year. And I did that and didn't see any improvement whatsoever. And then I went to go talk to the doctor like one last time. He's like, okay, we're gonna try something. And on the side, I was experimenting with the specific carbohydrate diet, and I felt a little bit better. I felt a lot better at the time, but in reality, it was only a little bit. And I told him about this diet, and he goes, look, Mike, I understand why you're excited about this. I'm on the diet myself, and I've been seeing this guy for like a year, and I just remember screaming into the phone, and he was, I'll see you in a year when I gotta cut out your colon. And yeah,
Wow. Well, and that,
so
for those who
that
don't
was the
know
last
that,
time I went to a GI doctor.
yeah, I can imagine. And for those who don't know, the end state of where Crohn's goes, if you go the medical route, is they cut out part of your colon and you end up pooping in a bag the rest of your life that you get to carry around, which is all sorts of not
Yeah,
fun. So you
yeah, it's
diverted from
crazy.
that path of medicating your symptoms into oblivion and trying to heal differently. So what did you start changing and what did you do differently? Tell us about the healing journey.
Well, first I went the diet route, and um, I did specific carbohydrate diet for a while, and then somebody told me about the GAPS diet. And usually when you hear about the GAPS diet, somebody said hey, you got to read this book. It's by this guy named, Weston A. Price. He was this dentist in the 1930s, and he went and he investigated what healthy primitive populations were eating, and they were so healthy they had a 0% cavity rate. I had the book in my hands like the next day, and like I just devoured that book, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to eat like the Swiss population. I'm just going to eat like sourdough rye bread and raw milk, and everything's going to be okay. Um, but so I went that Weston A. Price route for a long time, and I felt a lot better. I was still pretty skinny and still kind of walking this holistic tightrope. Um, but I started Heal Your Gut Guy, and I just noticed like some people just never got better. Like no matter how well they followed the diet or what supplements they took, and that's what eventually led me to what I do now, is where I help people, from a German new medicine perspective,
Hmm.
in the work of Dr. Hammer. He could look at someone's brain CT scan and know exactly what diseases they had. And when
Without,
somebody told me that, I was like, what? And, dove right in.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, before we get to German new medicine, let me zoom out and see if we're
All right.
tracking here. So, one of the things I've appreciated about you is similar to me, you're a coach, and so you see things often through our holistic or simpler lens, I'd say. And I think we would both say that, being sick or having some sort of health challenge is really the result of one of three things or some combination of these three. And it's
Hmm.
malnutrition, it's being poisoned,
Hmm.
or it's toxic thinking. So, one, does that make sense? You agree with that?
I agree with that, but
Mhm.
it's very rare in today's society that malnutrition is causing the majority of somebody's problems.
Okay.
That's so. Here's an example. So if somebody has scurvy, they don't have enough vitamin C, they're bleeding or whatever. You give them vitamin C, they're better in a week. That's it. Like that scenario I just described right there is I find it, at least with people who I help, is very rare.
Okay. And most of your customer client base is North American and probably
Yeah.
overfed rather than underfed
Yeah.
or lacking enough breadth
Well,
of
most
nutrition.
of them have nutritional deficiencies because it goes straight into the toilet.
Yeah, for other reasons.
So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, so um, I guess with those, we kind of talked a little bit about the nutritional end of it with Weston A. Price, and more or less. So, if it's malnutrition or if nutrition, poison, and toxic thinking are the big three, then
Hmm.
anything else you want to say about your nutritional philosophy or Weston Price in particular that would kind of close the loop on that aspect?
Um, learning what Weston A. Price saw is like I don't know. I don't understand how diet is as crazy as it is today. It's such an easy topic. Get the most nutrients into you as possible. Like and as easy to digest as possible. But like, if you were to you'd have like somebody like chew and vomit something up to you if you really optimized it that well. Like,
It's kind of a gross
how do I
thought,
make
but
this easy to digest? Okay, he's going to eat it for me and then regurgitate it for me. But he just saw the primitives were just trying to eat the most nutrient dense foods in their environment.
well,
And,
and a lot of it
that
was
changed.
void of the tools of industry to do
Yeah.
the preserving and the denaturing it in so many different ways or removing it from natural environments where food would normally be cultivated. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah. I definitely think farming practices today, affect the quality of the food um, but when someone thinks kale has more nutrients than liver,
Yeah,
it's
that
like
is a head
basic
scratcher.
math. It's just like there's so many people who think butter is bad for you. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's like
Right.
that's how they discovered the first vitamin. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay. All right. So let's talk poison then. So tell us from your perspective, what are some things that we'll maybe keep it focused to the gut, but you can broaden it if you want.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are some of the things that poison the body or the gut in particular if we're looking for egregious things we can do to unburden the body?
Yeah, I think some of like the easiest wins as far as like taking like easy stressors off the body.
Or even what
I would
did
say
you do?
getting, what did I do?
Yeah, anything about that as well.
Um, you know, I really don't harp too much on like diet because the big problem that I run in, people are like almost, orthorexic. They're literally afraid of the very thing that keeps them alive. Like they don't know if they can have, like they don't know if they can have baby food. Like they don't know if they can tolerate dairy.
Hmm.
And if you like sit down and you have a conversation about it, like literally like what food is easier to digest than like milk or even raw milk?
Hmm.
Milk. What's easier to digest than milk? Raw milk. Okay. What's easier to digest than that? Like, okay, maybe yogurt. Like maybe yogurt. And it's like, okay, like what foods have been broken down more than that? And you're really at a loss. And it's like, okay, so you just said you can't digest the easiest to digest food on the planet. Like what makes you yet you can digest, meat, which is also a great food, but it technically much harder to digest. It requires much more work from your digestive system. Like you're
Right.
already you're like
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, blowing people's mind with like how does the gut function, or how does it work to essentially disassemble our food and turn it into something useful is a fascinating.
yeah.
But I think so I guess in my mind, to close the loop on the things that are disruptive to the gut, you'd probably say things like
Like
preservatives
maybe
and
like
industrial chemicals and glyphosate and
tap
yeah,
water.
right.
It's great to avoid those things, but you'll all it's like it's I don't know where do you live in
I live
you're in
in
the
the
US.
panhandle of Florida.
You're in the pan okay. D Depending on where you live in America, like good luck. Good luck finding organic food. And even that organic food is going to have stuff in it.
Yeah.
So, um, it's those things aren't great. Those like I wish we could live in a world where glyphosate like literally wasn't on every piece of bread you're going to eat, even if it
Mhm.
was organic.
Right.
Like you probably have to grow it in your own backyard to have it not have glyphosate or something in it.
And then it's
And
probably in the rain. Right.
yeah.
Right.
And then so but the panic and fear, okay, let's say that does, we're going to use video game terminology. Let's say that does 1 HP of damage, that glyphosate.
One hit point for those non-video
One
gamers.
when it does 1 hit point, it does 1 health. All right. Freaking out about that food and having a little mini a panic attack that puts your gut into overdrive is going to do
Way worse.
way worse.
Yeah.
It's going to do 10 just in that one instance, but you're going to eat bread every single day for the rest of your life. And it's going to be thousands of hit points over the course of your life. But
Right.
I wish there wasn't glyphosate in it. I really
Right.
do.
Well, it's not that they're irrelevant. So the quality of the food and the things done to food, that ways that industry tinkers with it or modifies it or preserves it or heck
Yeah.
puts poisonous things like food coloring chemicals or whatever into the food, is still
Yeah.
there in your mind part of, and where I'm going with it is just your paradigm or the way that you have over the years matured into your perspective now of how you help people. You're
Yeah.
driving at is there's something very emotional and mental about how the gut functions that is
Yeah.
often overlooked in the paradigms we have about how to heal it. And often we're stuck in reasoning from one sliver of what's influential, and we're missing the 800-pound gorilla that's
Yeah.
actually driving some of the symptoms people are having. Is that kind of a good assessment of how you've grown your business over the years?
And here's a different way to put it. Like I don't know how to help somebody get better if you're going to be afraid of gluten the whole time. I don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
I can't. Like because yeah, you have awesome willpower, but you're gonna run in. I don't know what you're gonna if you're afraid of gluten, you're gonna be afraid of something else.
Hmm.
Like it's much like when I had people doing a perfect what's in a price diet, if they didn't have their conflict that's putting their gut in and out of overdrive, their life was super stressful and stuff like I can't help them get better. But
Yeah.
I could get somebody eating McDonald's get better that can get their conflict under control. I can help them get better and put on 20, 30 pounds or whatever health goals they're trying to reach.
If you could
Easy.
resolve the mental or emotional or life conflict, not necessarily
Yeah.
optimizing what you'd call one hit point of energy. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Like, again, I'm not like, and again, McDonald's in Europe is healthier than, and McDonald's used to be healthy at one point.
if you can believe that, right? What they have morphed into
So,
is a different animal. So, okay, well then tell us. So the one of the things that has become important in your coaching business is the concept, and you mentioned it earlier, of
mhm,
German New Medicine. So tell us a little
mhm.
bit about that theory, because there's essentially we've got the germ theory, the terrain theory, and then there's German New Medicine as a third or another theory. So you want to maybe
Yeah.
define each of those and then kind of tell us your perspective on where German New Medicine has an ability to help where other things haven't.
Yeah. To, so germ theory, so at first you kind of think it's just like a nutritional deficiency, or I'm eating too many bad foods and my gut's overworked. And then you got to
Mm-hmm.
think to yourself, why do none of the professional eaters have gut issues? And then I was like, oh, it's an infection. It's got to be an infection. And this theory has been disproved. If you just go read Dr. Crohn's book, he disproved it 100 years ago. He thought it was tuberculosis of the gut, which is actually a tuberculosis infection, which is actually very interesting when you learn German New Medicine. Um, so he thought it was an infection. So he would take bad gut culture, right? And he would put it into rats and dogs and cats and stuff as test labbed animals. And they would never come down with gut issues. They're always fine. And then so he's like, okay, well, all right, well, let me like test this again. And so he would take good bacteria from a healthy person and put it into sick people, and they very rarely ever get better. If you Google that right now, there's I don't know, there's studies that say like, oh, we have like 100% cure rate. I've never seen anybody get better
And
doing a fecal
what's the
matter
book?
transplant.
Okay, so you're talking there's a book about that from 100 years ago, and then you're speaking specifically of the current idea of fecal transplants as a way to
Yeah.
shift infections or reset the ecology of someone's gut.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the book I'm referencing is by Dr. Burrell Crohn. He coined the term, well, he actually didn't coin the term Crohn's disease. He never wanted to call it that. He wanted to call it regional ileitis because it's just inflammation in the ileum, the last part of the small intestine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, he thought it was an infection, and he tested it, and turns out it wasn't. And um, I don't think train theory might have been a thing, but he didn't really talk about that much. But what he did mention, he says usually when someone shows up in the ER, it's usually after something pretty stressful.
Right.
And in one of his books, like literally the first sentence in his book is like, let me tell you the personality of somebody with Crohn's and colitis. They're angry, they're difficult to work with, they're mad all the time. They won't admit it most of the time.
Right. Which are things you can be filing or listening and thinking of yourself. Do I have any of those, especially if you have gut issues? But okay, so we got germ theory, which is kind of the idea that there's a boogeyman virus from somewhere on the planet or outer space or wherever that's coming. It's trying to
Yeah.
take over our body and kill us. And then there's the terrain theory, which says really what matters more is the overall constitution, the susceptibility, the diversity of that person. And it's more important the overall health of someone and the breadth of what they do than
Yeah.
whether or not this bug can actually come and do anything. Did I summarize that well in your perspective?
Yeah, and I'll touch on germ theory one more time because that was something I obsessed about. So you can buy like Candida and E. coli from like a lab for like $20, and you can test it. And that's what I did. I grew it on bread, and then I would test different, essential oils and stuff on it. And so oregano essential oil, literally one drop and nothing's gonna grow.
Hmm.
Like it won't spread. Where if you use like peppermint oil, Like you got to use like 6 drops to kill Candida.
Huh.
And so I created this protocol where you're taking that oregano oil and then like smashing down probiotics, and it still wasn't as effective as you think it would be. It's like literally I just watched it multiple times. I just it does not grow if I use 1 drop, and I still have a screwed up, messed up my gut microbiome. Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And
so
then
maybe some lift to your overall constitution, but it didn't necessarily finish the job, is what you're saying. Okay,
that I would probably still use that if parasites were involved.
okay, cool. Well,
Um,
I'll ask you about that in a little bit.
yeah. But yeah, I went down the terrain theory rabbit hole. What did I got down to, there's something called like the somatid cycle where this one terrain theory scientist, he would watch the cells create like bacteria, and then like he would watch the bacteria come out of your own cells, the bad guys, and then he
Mm-hmm.
would watch fungus and candida come out of your own cells, and he would watch your own cells make tumor cells, and he's like, wow, and he saw kind of like this cycle to it. He's like, it's very interesting that these things come out of your own cells, because right now we have this idea that they just appear out of nowhere, and it's like science. It's like,
Or
no, no,
they're
they
flying
they
around to
come out of
eat.
our own cells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a very different to the pleomorphism and such, that there's theories around it. What I guess for the listener, what we're digging into is some of the theories or concepts behind where disease comes from, and
Mm-hmm.
as you guys know from the intro to this show, I like to stretch our thinking. I like to help us entertain. Maybe there's something else to a different paradigm, and it can be helpful to entertain other theories that might explain where things are coming from. And that's a lot of what you've done over the years in your work to heal yourself, and then test out what you found worked for you, and find, oh shoot, there's areas where this isn't as helpful for other people. And so that led you into studying German new medicine. So tell us, I guess, when you
Mm-hmm.
first came across that, and what was it about that perspective that added more of a holistic picture, or helped you fill out the other theories that you were working with?
So, I had one student tell me about it, and at first I was like, I don't know if they didn't get all the important details across to me at first, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you talking about? Um, but then he came back, like I saw him like a month later, and he gained like 30 pounds.
uh, what
And I'm like,
happened?
what? And
Yeah.
and this is after this person, I think they fasted for like they like fasted for like a couple of weeks while they had all their nutrients IV'd into them, and it like literally did nothing for them. It
Hmm.
didn't do anything. He wasn't eating anything, yet he was still having diarrhea. It was like crazy. And yeah, and then he started doing G&M, and he gained like 20 pounds. And so that's when I started to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started to see that, I don't know where I heard it, but I heard that Dr. Hammer could look at your brain CT scan and know exactly what was wrong with you.
Yep. There was
And then
something
I got
predictable about it.
yeah, like if there's a ring in your brain stem, at 6 o'clock. Well, let me get this right. So if there's a ring in your brain stem at 9 o'clock, I know you have colitis. If it's at 12 o'clock, I know you have Crohn's or regional ileitis. So, and then I got my brain scan done, and it looked just like it should. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw a few other brain scans, and I'm always where it was always where it should have been.
Hmm.
And it has this very, like when you see all the relays on the brain, that they're all like lined up right next to each other, like it makes sense. It looks
Yeah.
like we were intelligently designed.
Right. Okay. Well, so if I understand, you got more depth of understanding of German new medicine than I do. But if somebody's interested in this, the basic idea, as far as I understand it, is that there's a correlation between stressful events in your life, or what they call conflicts or conflict shock, something unexpected that
Mhm.
happens to you, and the symptoms that we then develop physically in life. And as a coach doing the work I've done, I can't tell you how many times I've been able to correlate somebody's health issues to, oh, this is more, it's got its roots in something mental and emotional or some trauma,
Yeah.
big T or little t trauma that you've lived through. And so talk to us about the idea of conflict shocks, or what you call indigestible morsels that
Yeah.
really manifest as problems, or specifically as gut problems.
Yeah. So, the way I like to explain German new medicine in like one sentence is, um, every organ has a survival function. So when we experience a conflict shock, a stressful event that catches us off guard, that we can't, like, the body's like, oh my God, we're gonna die. All right, put a survival tool into overdrive. And when that conflict is alive for, depends on what organ, and it depends on how stressful the conflict is. When that organ's in overdrive for too long, it starts to get beat up, and we get symptoms.
Right.
And again, this can change the symptoms, that it can change depending on what organ we're talking about, because each organ does something and functions differently. So,
Right. Well, and one of the things I appreciated about you, or when I watched some of your videos on this, and the way that and I could correlate this to other clients as well, where the words that we speak give windows into what might be going on, or where some of this type of, where it manifests, or what might be the source of it. And you hear phrases like, I just can't, or I can't process this, or that this makes me sick to my stomach, or I need to get something off my chest, or such and such makes my skin crawl, or I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. And those can be linguistic clues to some of the biological things or the historical events in your life that led to some of that. So in your experience, one, does that make sense? And are there some words or emotions or phrases people might get into that help them identify some of this, I guess, these indigestible emotional morsels that leave them emotionally constipated, so to speak?
yeah, it's so in German new medicine, we're dealing with the subconscious mind, so it's pretty tricky. I personally, I use a lot of crap and shit language. I thought that's a bunch of dumb shit, dumb crap. I don't want to get the shit out of here.
Right. And those were your symptoms.
Maybe that's why my brain put my colon into overdrive, because its job is to hold and get rid of poop. But we don't know. We don't know unless we can get a transcript of what my subconscious is thinking. We don't know. But the way that we do this in German new medicine is we start with this. We use the symptoms to help us, like, what our brain is or what our psyche is picking up as a threat. It's like, toothpicks, and diarrhea. Okay, my brain thinks toothpicks. Somehow toothpicks are a reminder of the conflict of crap I want to get rid of. It's like, oh, yeah, the guy tried to stab me with toothpicks. And you might not be consciously aware of that. You might not be like, oh, I remember toothpicks. I almost got stabbed.
Right.
But until you make that conscious connection, then your subconscious mind, okay, we can have diarrhea every time we see a toothpick now. Yeah. Okay.
I can turn that process off. Like, you disconnect.
We can turn it off now. All right.
Yeah. Well, the strong emotions often are, they're biological in many ways, like anger or fear or loneliness, or they talk to us about how they can trigger gut episodes, and the connection between emotional health and gut health.
Well, sometimes there's not, like, sometimes you won't get emotional about it. Sometimes you will. Sometimes it makes sense. Like, oh yeah, every time I fight with my friend, I get diarrhea. Like, that kind of makes sense, But, like, every time I pick up a toothpick, I get diarrhea. There was times I would go into Sprouts, which is like an organic grocery store here. I would get diarrhea, and I was like, I want to be here. I have a smile on my face, like what's going on?
Yeah.
And I just realized, like, oh, I think they didn't have raw milk once, and I threw a hissy fit 5 years ago. And then I go, like, the next day I went to Sprouts and everything was fine.
Wow. Okay. But so you recognize there was an anger trigger for you. Is that fair?
Well,
The hissy fit over not having the milk you wanted was
yeah, but that was 5 years ago.
right. But okay,
Now I was going in with a smile on my face. And it wasn't like, oh yeah, I remember that one time. I wasn't even like going in there like, yeah, those idiots, they didn't have raw milk. Like, no, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Sprouts and see what cool stuff they have.
uh-huh.
Oh, where's the bathroom?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, so what was it that helped you get over the anger of that once you realized it? Talk people through, because I imagine there's probably a handful of listeners who are have maybe anger issues or loneliness, whatever
Yeah.
emotion tends to eat at them that keeps them from having in this case, the gut health or the overall health they're looking for. What are some of the ways that you historically have helped yourself process anger or other strong emotions that may have something to do with the symptoms you manifested?
So, um, I'm trying to figure out where to start. So I like understanding
Mm-hmm.
things, and emotions is it's a very tricky word. Like when I was trying to help people, when I was trying to like educate myself and try to help people better with, coming to, not feel anger and fear all the time and resolve their conflicts. I was like, well, what's an emotion? And I would go into the psychology books and I was like, this is a horrible definition. Like, I don't know how this passes. So I got to the etymology of the word, like where it stemmed from. And I guess it's like a French and like a Latin word. And it means to move up, to stir and to move. And so I kind of came up with this definition of an emotion. An emotion is a feeling inside of us that brings us closer to things that, oh, this makes me happy. I need water. I'm in a desert. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then negative emotions such as anger, it's a response to something that's threatening my survival, and I feel like I can fight it. And then if fear kicks in, that's that's something's threatening my survival, and I can't fight it.
Hmm. I'm powerless to overcome
So
that threatening thing is the fear element.
yeah, and that can change on a dime. So and that's one of the kind of the qualms I have with G&M. Like some of their conflict definitions are like indigestible anger. And I'm like, it's not always anger. It can swap back and forth.
Yeah, anger to me is
So
secondary. It's a symptom that I'm afraid of something else happening, and that could
yeah.
be abandonment. That could be being, disconnected from some important work or any number of things. But that it can frustration can or anger can be one of the ways people manifest a fear, or it can be detachment. It's a hairy, interesting mix to really get to the root of someone's, whether it's an anger issue or to find the primary emotional drivers. But I love how you framed what does the word actually mean. It's like you're stirring up something, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
stirring that to use my in the moment metaphor kind of clouds up the water of whatever you're dealing with, and it's harder to see it, or it makes you feel things strongly because you
Yeah.
don't have clarity. Is that
Yeah,
reasonable?
because like I had a comment on one of my TikTok videos today, and it's I'm always curious. Like I'm really curious, like how psychology deals with this stuff. But like if you're afraid of, this is one analogy I use all the time. So like let's say you're afraid of dogs. Like why are you afraid of dogs? Do you like dogs? Are you afraid of dogs?
I am
Just
one of
curious.
the people who is, I guess you could say, not a fan of dogs. And
Not a fan of
often, if people
dogs?
find that out about you, they're like, "What, are you dead inside? Like, what's wrong with you?"
You're
Like,
you're
yeah,
allergic to love.
apparently, yes, I'm allergic to slobber and employees who don't pull their own weight. But that's my,
So, I have more positive memories of dogs than you do.
yeah, I've got scars on my hands from being bit by dogs, which may have something to do with,
There you go.
But to back myself up, though, I didn't like the dog before that happened. But anyway, and maybe the doctor,
Yeah.
who knows?
So like let's take a kid for example, and a dog comes and like licks his face, but like the whole before that, his mom was always like, dogs are dangerous, dogs are dangerous. So this dog, perfectly nice dog, comes up and starts licking him in the face, and he freaks out because he thinks the dog's gonna eat him. Like where in reality, the dog was just being playful. So it's like everything is based off of our past memories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very hard to keep track of because, what teachers, parents, TV shows, books, tell us.
Right.
But if you are get super angry about something, then you have subconscious memories there telling you like, hey, this is dangerous. And you can fight it. Okay, so get angry.
Yeah. Or you can run from it.
Or
And
or you can run,
yeah.
or it's fear and you just like play dead
Right.
or run or so.
Yeah. Well, it's like the idea of like, is that you're walking down a sidewalk and you see a stick. You don't know if it's a stick or a snake, and you can panic if you
Yeah.
think it's a snake, or you can just assume it's a stick, and you don't trigger that fear, that visceral response to what it is you're looking at. And so much of our life comes back to those stories we're telling ourselves about what's real and what's not. And to realize they have real biological implications it's a freeing thought on some level, because it gives you another set of variables to explore and really disarm a lot of the things that end up causing you poor health and on various levels. And I think is it safe to say that's a lot of what you've ended up helping people see over the years as you've worked as the heal your gut guy?
Yeah, like it's at first like I didn't know how to help people like not get angry about this or that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, just stuff it down. Which is suppress
Right.
which is really just like being like, okay, you can't consciously deal with this. Put the gut into overdrive even more.
Right. Hold that beach ball underwater for as long as you can. And then when you fall asleep, it's coming out. Like it has to come.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
So like you have like you have to have memories that override those old ones. Like we have to have new beliefs, like how, like what needs to change, like in order for you not to be like not view this as a threat anymore.
Right. Well, it comes back to food phobias too, right? Like if you're afraid of everything you eat, or you're constantly anxious about what this might do to me, that
Yeah.
sure enough, that can be the source of the gut problem more so than the actual food. Is that something you found in your work?
Yeah, food. Like when someone gets over their food phobias, and it's easier said than done depending on the person.
Mm-hmm.
That it literally can cut their symptoms in half, usually, like in a day,
Wow.
while going to McDonald's the next day. Like
Yeah,
no
because
joke.
you've stopped telling yourself one story. This is actually a stick, not a snake,
Yeah.
and it's not going to harm me. And that unto itself, it's not that what's in the food is necessarily irrelevant if it's loaded with mercury, because it's potato
Yeah.
grown, and it's a in and out fry that is causing all sorts of other problems. But I
Like
guess
like when people call gluten, when they treat it like it's mercury, it's like, no, it's a freaking protein. It's like one of the most important nutrients.
yeah, and doesn't have to be your death sentence or your gut bomb when you eat
Hmm.
it. And sometimes recognizing those mental cues that you give your body can
Hmm.
be it's at least part of. And I would totally agree, because that's something I deal with a lot as a coach as well, is I have to figure out why this person's afraid of this, that, or the other before
Yeah.
we can calm them down enough to physically feel the relief in their body, that then
Hmm.
reason gets to spend more time in the room, and the emotions and the dialogue between that and logic can happen. And so um,
Hmm.
there's a fascinating story I've heard you tell before about two, I think it was Russian twins joined at the hip, and they
Oh,
were,
that's super interesting.
but it's fascinating because it's an interesting window into the idea that there's something I put in me and it's causing an infection, or it's causing my symptoms. And so there's two twins joined at the hip, and they have different. They have the same, they're sharing the same circulatory system, the same blood, and yet their symptoms are different. So tell us a little bit about that.
They also share a colon in one
Oh, wow.
rectum. It's and that's like normal. And sometimes they have to do surgery to like connect things, but like yeah, it's very, very interesting. Um, but yeah, that's like uh yeah, they have two separate brains. So and they're deciding which organ to put into overdrive. Like these two, Masha and Dasha, I think were their names. Um, they did everything together, yet they had two very different personalities. One was kind of a bully, and one was kind of like, I guess, more sweet, I guess you could say, and kind. Um, and yeah, it's kind of a sad, tragic story, but they would, one would drink and would drink, but didn't like to, and they would both get drunk together.
Huh. Wow.
But one would get sick, get a cold, and the other one wouldn't.
Weird.
Especially when it was like mono and it's, supposed to be super contagious.
Right. Fascinating. Well, and then you've told how your story and your upbringing contrasted from your brother, and how that was he the way he ate, the way you ate, you were breastfed, he wasn't, and tell the listener a little bit about the differences between the two of you.
Yeah, so if you compare like me and my youngest brother, because I think he went on formula pretty quick compared to the rest to me, you know, it we both had a very similar diet growing up, but he doesn't have any digestive issues and I do. And it's just if you look at our personalities, you can really see it. Like I was quick to get angry and quick to get frustrated, and he's just, you know, pretty cool and calm and reserved.
Okay. Well, I guess what we're laying out for you, the listener, is just that there really is something. If you have always been in the what am I supposed to swallow? What foods are bad for me? And that's all I need to focus on to get my gut well or to improve my health on
Yeah.
some level. Well, hopefully we're broadening your perspective that there's more going on in here. And so another thing I'd love for you to speak to, Mike, is just the helping somebody have a realistic expectation when it comes to healing. So talk to us about what's from healing from a significant gut issue, because that's really your lane. What is is there a typical path, or what does it help to, or what does it take to help someone get on the road to recovery, and how long does that process usually take?
I mean, it really depends and like where they are with their conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's take somebody who has only had colitis for like a year.
Okay.
Well, I could actually give you a better example. One guy came to me once. He was a friend, and he's like, "Oh my God, my gut it hurts so bad. Like, should I go on the carnivore diet? I've been watching a lot of carnivore videos." I said, "No, don't do anything. Like, what was something stressful that really just happened?" He was like, "Oh my God, I just broke up with my girlfriend. I couldn't get her out of my house. I finally got her out of my house yesterday."
Mm.
He was in a week. He was fine. Fine. He was developing extra gut cells to help digest her to get her out of the house. And then when he got her out of the house, "Oh, I don't need these extra gut cells anymore." Gets rid of them. And guess what? That hurts. And he wasn't traumatized by the experience.
Mm.
Most importantly, if he was going to cry, "Oh, I'm never going to meet another girl again," all this stuff, then I could see it being off and on, off and on, off and on
Mm-hmm.
until he comes to peace with it.
Yeah.
So for him, 5 days.
Wow.
But
Somebody
if
else who's having constant flare-ups, what's the
yeah,
you're
but so if somebody, has been diagnosed for a year, not a lot, it depends, but usually not a lot of damage has been done.
mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen lots of people gain in like a month or two, like 30 pounds. It's not uncommon.
The healthy weight
Um,
gain, you mean?
yeah, like they were skeletons.
Mm,
Like they were like it's like uncomfortable to look at some of their old pictures, and they'll put on when they can put on 30 pounds in like a month or two, probably 2 months. That's a lot of weight.
yeah. Interesting. I remember reading the
Healthy
book
weight.
about what was it, Unbroken, the Louis Zamperini story, and they showed pictures of these guys in these Japanese POW camps. And you're right. You look at them, they're like gaunt skeletons. And as
Yeah.
soon as the airplanes flew over with the war's over and the airplanes are dropping all these food and supplies, those guys porked right back up before they left Japan. It was like, it just looked
Yeah,
dramatically different. That
exactly.
conflict was over. And it's like their
Hmm.
body could
Hmm.
finally go back into a healing health phase. But yeah, some of them had these, and there's the PTSD to deal with of what they went through. But I think that if
Hmm.
I'm hearing you correctly, that's kind of what you're describing. There's a trauma that happens, and then the body rebuilds the health. And as it's doing that, there can be a what you might think of as a relapse phase or that there's
Hmm.
a healing thing that it goes through to kind of purge some of the buildup of what it had to process. And for some people, that can be a discouraging element. And then, so if I'm understanding you correctly, there's a phase where the body is in a conflict and it's got a process going on that's uncomfortable and producing symptoms. When
Hmm.
that conflict passes, the body can start healing, but often there's what objectively from the outside or even within that person feels like a setback or a flare up that can be part of a cleansing response. Is that Did I capture that well, or how would you nuance my thinking on that?
Yeah, and flare up is uh it's not a precise enough term,
Okay.
but that's just the vocabulary everyone uses.
So layman
So
term.
in German new medicine, we have a few terms to kind of so we like better under so we can have like a better conversation about things.
Mm-hmm.
Because a flare up can mean different things to different people. So let's say, your girlfriend breaks up with you or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't digest her, whatever. The gut will start developing extra gut cells to help you digest women or digest her,
Interesting.
um, or how digest money or whatever it is the thing you can't digest. And Dr. Hammer tested these extra cells, and they produced extra digestive juice, and they digested food 10 times faster than normal gut cells, the normal digestive juice.
Huh. Okay.
And so when that conflict gets resolved, you get a new girlfriend or she comes back or whatever. I don't these cells are high maintenance. My brain is going into over, like processing more information. It gets rid of them. And that's when you go to the hospital and you're like, "Oh my God, there's blood flying out of my butt."
Hmm.
But someone who knows German new medicine, they would, they look down and they see blood in the toilet and they go, "Oh yeah, I've been through some stress lately." Okay, the blood started, you know, right when she brought her suitcase back in the door.
Hmm.
Uh, maybe they go to the hospital. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm losing so much blood. I should probably get a blood transfusion." But we're not freaking out like, "Oh my God, I have, I don't know." Like that, like they don't like it's someone who knows German new medicine will be like, "Oh, okay,
This could be part of a healing response, is what you're
this
saying.
is like my body's not broken. Like I might need help, but like, okay, this is like I know what's going on here."
Well, it's almost like tell me if I'm making a decent approximation. It's like catching a cold or coming down with I call it cold now an unscheduled detox. Your body goes through a set of things to purge or rid your body of things that have built up and need to be eliminated. And so that can be mucus or skin rashes, or it can be you poop or pee more, or you vomit. There's things the body does in order to open the exits and get things out. And that's actually healing your body, even though it's
Yeah.
highly unpleasant at times. And
Well, the same thing applies to a cold, which again is a broad term. It could be the larynx, the
right,
bronchioles, it could be the lungs, and they all, again, it depends on what tissue we're referring to, but they all have this process of creating extra cells to help you deal with the conflict, or eroding. Hey, you need more air to come in?
Hmm.
Okay, let's erode the bronchioles so that there's more, so that the passage is wider. And then when you resolve the conflict, it was like, okay, well, now we need to heal this. And then that's
Hmm.
when you would get the majority of the symptoms. So there's a very similar process in every tissue our body has.
Interesting. So it sounds like, in the exercise world, we talk about hypertrophy and atrophy. We talk about the muscles increasing their
Yeah.
size or working capacity or shrinking it. And they do that in response to stimulus. And the soreness you get after a workout is not often pleasant, but it's actually a sign the
Yeah.
body's healing and adapting. And sometimes the gut or other parts of the body can be that way. Is that?
This is an emergency adaptation
Mm-hmm.
that we, you know, preferably don't want to do, but like as far as the mind sees, like we need to do this or we're gonna die,
Mm.
which is
And
usually not the case.
right.
But
Okay.
that's how our brain sees it.
Okay. Well, talk to us about whether it's in the conflict active or the conflict resolution, if I have those clear enough in my head there. Talk to
Yeah.
us about how we might help or aid the body and empower it to function a little better. And we can maybe talk specifically for gut health, or probiotics and digestive aids or binders or things like that. Helpful or
Yeah.
waste of money? Or what are things that people can do to kind of symptomatically give their body a few more tools to work with?
Yeah. So sorry, that was an open-ended question. So
Well, so you can take it wherever you want. Yeah.
um so like what is my approach?
Yeah, that would be fine.
It's um I feel like my job nowadays is to like just modify beliefs in people's heads, because that like
It truly is
literally,
important. Yeah.
even if a diet is going to fix somebody, which it
Hmm.
isn't, but even if it did, I would still have to change a thought in a memory in your head, or create a belief in you to eat that diet.
Hmm.
If that were the case, if diet got you better. So, I'm dealing with a lot of people who think like diet's going to get them better. I have to like kill that belief, and then teach them German new medicine, because like I don't know any other way to help somebody be calm and keep their wits about them with like blood flying out of their butt if they don't like understand what's going on.
Hmm.
And that's what Dr. Hammer would tell you too. The first part of therapy is, teaching them what they need to know about
Hey,
German.
they got to get the intellectual buy-in on the process and the symptoms, and that goes a long way to it becomes the getting at the nub of it more than trying to manage symptoms. Is that?
So all these diseases are a response to stress or unexpected stress.
Hmm.
And if you don't have German new medicine to protect you when you go into the doctor's office and they tell you you're screwed, we're going to have to cut this and that out, and then tell you to do something that's just going to make things worse, that's why the knowledge. He wanted to call it the new medicine because it's how our body actually functions. But it's also German new medicine is a very confusing term. Um, some people call it Germanic healing knowledge, and I think we can all argue if that's a better term or not, but I think it better explains, like, it's not a pill. It's a way of looking at how the body works. Because right now in modern medicine, it's literal shit show. Oh, it's genetic.
Right. Which
It's
is
like,
such an
no, it's like,
easy way to not describe anything and just blame something.
it's an
Yeah.
infection. It's like, but the data doesn't say that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if you've got somebody, they're dialed in, or they're at least starting to investigate more holistically and think of the symptoms
Mhm.
from that perspective, is there a place for other things that, like, what other things might you add or accompany that perspective once it's in place to help somebody heal or speed up the healing process if possible?
Yeah, so some of the things we do to support healing um, is, getting nutrients into them, like good And I take and the one thing like we kind of stress from a German new medicine perspective is your body's like just pounding through protein and calories.
Hmm.
And so, and we also work with a lot of people who were in the carnivore keto community, and I'm like, your body is starving for sugar.
Hmm.
So, I'm working on trying to get sugar into them because like there are certain foods that just get like fully absorbed in the stomach, like coconut water and orange juice. And for somebody who, like they just can't keep anything down until we get things figured out from the conflict side of things. It's like, dude, you need to get calories into you. Like, how are you don't have enough calories into you for you to think
Hmm.
properly. So like I know they say sugar's bad, but like start drinking orange juice. It's
Or
like
yeah, maybe don't down the whole thing at once, but yeah,
yeah,
there's
don't give yourself like a sugar crash, but like
yeah, no, I've observed similar things that the people get on the carnivore diet and it can do amazing things to help healing, but there comes a plateau or there comes
yeah,
a point where the hunger or the craving for carbs gets so heavy, and I don't think the body's screaming at us for those things for no reason. It's
yeah,
looking for more balance and breadth,
yeah,
and modest amounts of them or using them well can be so much more healing, and to your point, do something to get at the food phobias. And um okay, so anything
yeah.
else you want?
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
protein and getting protein and sugar into somebody
And
because
where would you
that's
say the good fat fits in there?
the good fat.
Yeah.
Well, the best fat would be to do the cod liver oil with high mineral butter, um, and butter. But butter, you can butter's the best. Butter is like besides, you know, putting cod liver oil on your. I guess some people do it, but I'm not putting it on my bread. That sounds pretty gross.
Yeah, I've never had it that way and have no plans
Run
to go that way either.
it. But
Okay.
butter's your most nutritious fat. It has A, D, E, and a little K2 in it. Like that's sour cream. That's going to be your most nutritious fat.
Okay. Got it. So no particular the cod liver oil, but not no supplements that people really, if you want to heal your gut, these are because there's so much interest in digestive aids or binders or probiotics these days that are people are just really I can't heal without it, and that's there's such a big market for that. And your perspective is what?
Um, yeah, which ones do I recommend? The cod liver oil with high mineral butter. I think that's everyone on planet Earth will benefit from that, especially somebody with gut issues.
Okay.
Your body's in desperate need of those. Um, I like using a whole vitamin C.
Okay.
Um, not I don't consider ascorbic acid to be vitamin C. It's a very like I like to get all of my um like nutrients from like the whole plant source.
Mm-hmm.
So and there's a lot of good products out there for like a whole, made from a whole a whole vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
Whey protein. These like really aren't supplements. They're like almost food.
Yeah. That's I have a short list of things I consider more food in the supplement realm just to maybe fill in some holes. But um okay.
Yeah.
Nothing else to add there?
Whey protein powder, um, colostrum. Colostrum powder is like the best vitamin pill you can take.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
really
would you do
recommend
anything different or significant for somebody who's maybe had their gallbladder or appendix taken out? Anything different they should think about?
the appendix, no, because that's really not too much involved with digestion. And if it would be involved with anything, it would be with absorption.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, if you're missing a gallbladder, and I actually do recommend people to take enzymes and something to help you digest and deal with fat, and
Okay.
maybe even taking ox bile with your because
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What about fasting and its role in the gut health? And there's different versions of what fasting is, but is that something
Yeah.
that you um, work with people through or recommend in any way? Or,
I normally don't recommend fasting, because usually I work with people who are super underweight.
yeah, that would make some sense.
So, if I do recommend fasting, it's, you know, intermittent fasting.
Okay. Cool.
It's yeah, they're the thing that's going to make them get better is them having it's unraveling the trauma in their mind, which we could have two, three,
Endless.
4 hour conversation
Right.
about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fasting, unless they have some spiritual awakening while fasting, it's not gonna it's to think requires calories.
Hmm.
And you don't have it. Most people don't have much fat to burn
Yeah.
when they come to me.
Right. I can imagine. Okay. Well, last one on specifics like that. So tell us about your perspective on parasites or how to deal with them, or what signs somebody might look to realize, okay, maybe this is parasitic, and that is there some particular tests to take or ways that you help people in that realm?
Yeah, so parasites is something German new medicine really, Dr. Hammer didn't get much time to investigate it.
Okay.
But the way that we see, bad bacteria and fungi is that they come out of our own cells
Mm-hmm.
and they aid with the cell removal or the cell restoration when we resolve the conflict.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we
Well,
kind of like to think that that parasites aid with that.
but something like a tapeworm or something, like there's probably some we don't want. Like, is there anything you?
Yeah. The way I go about it is like, yeah, do what you got to do to get rid of them
Mm-hmm.
and detox and get them out. But the more majority of the symptoms that I see
Mm-hmm.
that people complain about, they'll swear up and down that it's parasites, where it's really the conflict.
Hmm. Okay.
So
Okay. So your default is to go after the conflict, and if you still can't get
yeah,
healing, maybe you look a little deeper and consider that as part of it. But okay, cool.
yeah, yeah,
Well, then I start bringing us home here and wrapping us up. So, what would if can you give us a summary of maybe your top 3 or 5 tips for people dealing with gut issues, or if they're just looking for a place to start? What kind of advice do you give people when they're just like the stuff you mentioned on your YouTube channel, or helping people think about this
yeah.
process of healing the gut?
Yeah, so when I have people go through like my 13-day protocol, I kind of have like 4 like core pillars.
Okay.
Um, One is becoming educated on, German new medicine and, first German new medicine, and then how the brain responds to trauma and
Mm-hmm.
just basic knowledge on how our emotions work and stuff like that. And
Okay.
you can go down so many rabbit holes with that.
Sure.
2 is just not blaming food. And then if you do want to optimize your diet, a lot of people I work with, they don't really care all that much. But if you do want to get all the nutrients that you can into you, start educating yourself, the Weston A. Price way.
Okay.
And then 3 is start looking for your conflict. Like just get out a piece of paper and make a timeline. In the winter of 20, in the winter of 2000
Uh-huh.
is when I first went to the emergency room. What was going on?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing. Hey, the brain is trying to conserve energy. It doesn't want to dig up these old past traumatic experiences. Like,
Right.
what
That's
was going on back then?
right.
Like, just be aware that your brain is not is, and if you're somebody like me where it started in childhood, then you really got to get kind of creative because I don't remember. Like there's still things I'm trying to like figure out. Um, it was like, was it when my dad cut my Nintendo cords?
Oof.
One
Painful.
bad report card.
Dang. Oof, that hurts.
So, Like, well, how's that trauma? You're so ungrateful. Yeah, I know. But like that was my trauma, you
Yeah,
know?
right. But it's funny the things I got 6 kids, and so I look at their responses and I like I'm not a perfect parent, so I know inevitably I'm going to do something I didn't mean to do that is a memory
Yeah.
they have that led them a different way, and so the awareness to try to not let that happen in their
Yeah.
world and cut their Nintendo cord and have them be like scarred for life and angry and mad at the world for whatever that's significant.
Yeah, like, think about like, I was a 90s kid, so we had like those brainwashing commercials. Like, if I don't have a Sucre Soaker, my life is going to be absolute trash. None of the kids are going to like me because I got
Gonna eat
some,
worms.
I don't like, I got like the dollar store knockoff version. No, I want a Super Soaker. I don't want this dollar store thing. Like, I think all the kids are going to laugh at me.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Like, that was my morsel. I wanted to have that. I wanted to have this, but I can't.
I
And
couldn't
guess what? I don't
digest.
have a job.
Yeah. Wow.
And depending on your personality and just like your up, like, or, however,
Yeah.
for me, it was that. It was like my parents not letting me have the things that, hey, can I have ice cream? No. Hey, can I have a Happy Meal? No. I'm sure, and I'm not blaming my parents. I'm sure they would have gone broke if they would have gave me everything that I
Right.
demanded.
Exactly.
But like, I've had to dig back into those memories as a 30-year-old,
Hmm.
which takes time.
Sure. Okay. So we've got learn German new medicine. We've got study Weston A. Price, and we've got look through your history to find some of these triggers. So what's the
Yeah.
fourth one?
And then for the foods, it's very important not to be afraid of food.
Yeah.
Like, don't go eating like a ghost pepper. Like, that's like literally the only food I'm like, hey, don't go be eating ghost peppers. Um, but three is try to figure out what your conflict is, and that might take some time.
Hmm.
Write down what you're doing when you get symptoms.
Hmm. Yep.
And then
Self-awareness.
four is start coming to peace, start trying to come up whether you want to use your religion or whatever, or
Mhm.
just
Some way to make
there's a
sense of
lot
this
of
world.
there's a lot of ways to resolve trauma. Some are better than others. But a lot of the times, just consciously being aware of the thing that's putting your gut into overdrive. I could have never guessed it with toothpicks.
Right. Sure enough, that did it.
Just
Right.
becoming consciously aware will 50% of the time stop the symptoms.
Right on. Okay. Well, Mike, I think you've given the listener plenty of interesting things to think about. And hopefully we have succeeded in stretching their thinking and asking them to explore new ideas. So tell people where they can find you and anything that you might have coming up that you want them to know about. And
Yeah, if you want to learn more about, I focus primarily on, intestinal issues and heartburn and stuff like that. But and just, I try to focus on that. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel, a TikTok, an Instagram. That's where I post I'm most active on TikTok and YouTube. So I also have a newsletter where I pretty much email every day with lots of stuff. So yeah, go
yeah,
check me
good
out there. I
information.
also have a
Yeah, I'm on your list,
program.
and
So
you're
yeah.
constantly sending out things that stretch people's thinking and give them little nuggets of like, ooh, other breadcrumbs to maybe this is the path to help yourself heal. So they are helpful.
Thanks, yeah. Glad
Cool.
you like it.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for taking the time today. I know you've got other things going on, so I appreciate you carving out some time to talk with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening to Deconstructing Conventional. If this conversation sparked new questions or helped you see things in a new light, feel free to share it with a friend who is on a similar journey. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode and a perspective that challenges the norm. Check us out on our website at healingunited.today and find us on social media at Healing United, or you can check out the Healing United PMA app. It's a great way to stay connected. Remember, question everything and rebuild intentionally.